everybody, Jason Franklin here again at Expedition U. Got another fantastic friend, mentor, and interview today with Mr. Frank Gray from Jackson Henry Mortgage and Abbey Realty. Has grown an absolute powerhouse business in a couple different factions. And just remember, whether we're bringing on entrepreneurs that are in real estate based, if they're technology based, it doesn't matter what they're doing. The lessons that we're learning here, the stories and experiences that we're sharing really apply to everyone. So I don't care if you're selling peanut butter cups on the side of the road, or if you've invented the next great, tool for technology. All of these rules apply. All of these lessons apply. So take every nugget of information you can, because we all know that we would much rather learn from someone else's mistakes than our own. So, Frank, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Really excited to be on the podcast with you, Jason.
Excellent, excellent. Now, is that a puppy?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Mickey. Yes. He saw me sitting still and jumped right into my lap. So
I I just hope our
uh,
dog doesn't do that. We have a German Shepherd. She's kind of heavy. I don't want her in my lap.
I'll try to keep him under control.
So, Frank, I mean, let's get going. I mean, I know you're a busy man. I don't want to take too much of your time. So, I mean, you've got a couple of big businesses you're running. You got Jackson Henry Mortgage. You also got Abbey Realty. So how did you? What was your career? I mean, I don't think you came out of high school and said I want to go sell real estate and get into mortgage, right? Kind of where did you get started and what led you to where you are?
Yeah, so let me tell you that story, but first I have to provide an update.
Oh,
Abbey Realty is no longer in existence because one
oh,
year ago, I took that large independent real estate company and we moved over to EXP Realty. So
excellent.
yeah, and
So
I'll tell
y'all
that
y'all did a
story as we
full,
go along.
but y'all did a full rebrand when you did that then.
We sure did. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Congratulations.
No, we are all in on EXP Realty. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Awesome. So
Okay, well,
tell us where you came from.
so I kind of started like most people, graduated from high school, went to college, got a business degree, management and marketing. The reason I got a management marketing degree is that my mother told me I needed a backup plan. And that's because I didn't plan to go into business. I planned to be in full-time ministry as a pastor or a missionary or something. And in fact, I did that. Went to seminary, graduated, became a youth minister, then a senior pastor. But along the way, I had developed this love for the business world. I worked on my MBA. I had worked in business all through high school and college and seminary. And when I went back to get my doctorate, I took a job in insurance sales to pay the bills and support my family. And it just rekindled that love of being in the business world and the variety of people I get to meet and everything that I loved about the ministry. I still get to do in my roles today. I get to counsel people, help them navigate the difficulties of life, achieve their dreams. And so I still feel like I have a pastoral calling, but I'm just on the front lines in the mortgage and real estate industry.
Well,
So in
that's a great thing about ministry is that you can minister from anywhere,
yes,
right?
that's exactly right. So I just consider myself deployed on the front lines now. So um, we came down to Houston in 1992. My wife was pregnant with our first child, and I took a job with the David Weekley Company selling brand new homes in the new master plan community of Cinco Ranch, and absolutely loved it. So I spent a couple years with David Weekley, and I got hired away by the Remax organization as a management consultant. And I spent most of my career with them running regions in St. Louis, Ohio, Florida, Carolinas. Came back to Texas in 2010 as the business productivity director for Remax of Texas. That's where I counsel brokers how to grow profitable offices. And the specific strategy that I counseled them to use was to become a real estate coach to their agents, based upon the old Zig Ziglar adage that you can get anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And so I just encourage these brokers to become highly attractive to real estate agents. It worked. We grew our market share first in San Antonio, then in Austin, then Dallas, Fort Worth, and they gave me the Houston metro area. By the end of my 4 years there, I literally had responsibility for every metro area in Texas. And then Remax International asked me to become the master trainer for their organization worldwide. And I created, the last couple of years I was there, all of their broker owner training videos, traveled to the world headquarters once a month to train all the new franchisees worldwide about how to be attractive and helpful to real estate agents. So
So,
loved that career.
so when you came to Remax in '92, they weren't the juggernaut that they are now. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't even make it to Texas until like mid to late '80s or something like that. Is that right?
Well, I'm not quite that. Yeah, I didn't have history with them in Texas at that point. When I joined them, it was at their St. Louis regional office, and I was responsible for Ohio. Remax, though, at that point was a force to be reckoned with because it had started officially in the 70s
Sure,
and just had a super fast growth trajectory. By when I left them, they were the largest real estate organization in the world in terms of market share, international market
sure.
share. So
Excellent.
spent all those years in regional positions, regional leadership and consulting training. But the whole time, the role that I really wanted was real estate agent. But it was really hard to wean myself from the W-2 income, the paycheck every 2 weeks. And it was a good income, it was a good life. But there was an entrepreneurial thing in me that was just screaming to get out. And so in 2013, when the Remax of Texas region was sold to the international headquarters, I had an opportunity to come up to the Woodlands, become the business coach at Remax the Woodlands in Spring. And I negotiated as part of that package the right to be a real estate agent. And so evenings and weekends, I started selling. I started basically practicing what I preached. And it was everything I hoped for. I absolutely loved real estate sales and did very well. Within 8 months, I was, I'm going to shut the door. The dog is barking now. Hang on one second. This is real life post COVID. Um,
Hey, I
so
understand.
within 8 months, I was top 10% in the office, won the Remax Platinum Award. Within 3 or 4 years, I was earning twice as much evenings and weekends as I was on my six-figure daytime job.
Yep.
And really wanted to start a team because I was honestly working too hard. I clocked myself at 14 hours a day, and I knew it was 14 hours because at that point, my eyes drooped, my brain grew foggy, and I looked at my computer screen, it didn't make sense to me. And but it was too much. It was taking a toll on my emotional health, physical health, on my family. And so I thought the answer was I'll start a team. But that didn't square with my day job. And so I eventually resigned from Remax and went independent. I thought I've got a broker's license. I'll start my own little team. So I had 4 agents who joined me and we launched Abbey Realty in November of 2017 with the thought that someday we would be a huge company of 30 or 40 agents, maybe. Well, all of that got blown out of the water. Um, we started growing at a pace of 10 to 12 agents every month. And at our 4 year anniversary last year, we were 472 agents strong. It was an
Wow.
incredible ride. And I absolutely loved every moment of it. But I came to the conclusion at one point I always promised my agents, I'm going to give you the best of everything in the industry, the best training, technology, support staff, facilities, everything. And I kept hearing about this EXP Realty thing in the background all the time. I finally decided I had to at least check it out so I'd know how to compete against it. And
Sure.
once I saw the value proposition that it offered to real estate agents, I honestly felt like I had a moral obligation to tell my agents about it because there were so many things that were offered: the revenue share, health insurance, relocation program. It just went on and on and on. And if I really loved my agents, like I told them I did, and I had their best interests at heart, then I felt like I at least had to give them that opportunity. And so at our 4 year anniversary party last year, I stood up and announced that I was moving to EXP and invited my agents to come with me. We took 160 of the 472, only about a third of them kind of caught the vision. and came with me, but they did represent 75 to 80% of our production. So they were, for the most part, our top producers,
Mm.
team leaders, influencers. And I will tell you, I've been in just over a year now. We've loved every moment of it. It's been a great experience. So
That's
that kind
awesome.
of brings me up to the present on the
You
real
know, I
estate
want
story.
I want to go back and touch on something that you said, that
Yes,
you had this entrepreneurial flair about you and that the 9 to 5 wasn't feeding that, and I've talked about this before. I think you can put a 9 to 5 W-2 employee in an entrepreneurial situation. And if they have management skills, they will thrive. But if you put an
yes,
entrepreneurial based person in a 9 to 5, they will always be miserable.
yes, absolutely. I could never go back. Never. Yeah.
Yeah,
Once you've
I tell
tasted
people
the pure air
the
of freedom, you can't
freedom.
let it go.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just the freedom to make the decisions, right? But you have the freedom to succeed. You also have the freedom to fail.
Yes,
But it's the mental clarity of, master of my domain. Only gonna eat what I kill. Which, and I've mentioned this 100 times before, but I've got a very, very good friend that is a NASA engineer.
yes,
And he works in computer science and everything else. And he's like, I don't know how you do what you do. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you never know where your next paycheck's coming from. I was like, I don't know how you do what you do,
yes.
because I said, you started working there at 22 years old, straight out of college. I said, you could have sat down on day one and mathematically figured out exactly what your net worth was going to be when you were 65.
That's right.
I'm going to get a 3% raise. I'm going to get a 2% cost of living every 2 years. I'm going to max out my
Yes.
401k. My wife comes to me and says, hey, I want to go buy a $500,000 RV and travel the world. And you can go, yeah, we're never going to be able to do that.
Right.
I got to go recruit a few more people. I got to go sell a few more houses. I got to get a big commercial deal. I got to do something, but the
Yes.
sky's the limit. And no one can stop what I want to do. And again, that translates not just real estate, that translates into every entrepreneurial aspect, that
Yes.
it will be whatever you're willing to make it become, not what you want
Yes.
it to become, but whatever sacrifice, whether that's time, money, influence, whatever it is, you can grow it into whatever you want it to be.
Yes. Well, you said a key phrase a moment ago I want to pick up on. You said also freedom to fail. And I
Hmm.
think anybody launching an entrepreneurial career or venture has to be aware of the downside because success is not guaranteed. And I'll just tell you a little brief story. When I was in Florida back in the early 2000s, I was the director of broker services for Florida Carolinas for the Remax organization. Still had my daytime job, but as a release for that entrepreneurial drive, I started investing in real estate and purchasing high
Uh-oh.
rise condos. I was building single family homes from scratch. I had probably about $2 million in real estate under contract when the bottom dropped out of the market.
I knew you were going to
And
say
I
that.
had, yeah, and I had financed every bit of it. I had taken out a home equity line of credit on my primary residence to get the 20% down payments, financed everything else with investor loans, and needless to say, lost everything. It was an incredibly hard lesson and introduction to the entrepreneurial life. Fortunately,
Sure.
my wife stood by me. A lot of people lost everything, including relationships, during the meltdown.
Yes.
But I kept my wife, I kept my kids, kept my sanity, and came to Texas with my tail between my legs. And we literally had to start from scratch. I had a great job when I got here waiting, but I couldn't even get a home loan through normal channels. I didn't qualify. Just had a recent
Yeah.
bankruptcy, had all the foreclosures, and it was humbling. But I'll tell you, I never lost hope. I knew timing sabotaged my efforts. There was really nothing wrong with the plan, with the strategy, other than a historic reversal in home values. And so I never gave up, and I kept plugging, and I kept building relationships when I got to Texas, continued to learn all I could so that when I had another shot at the
Mhm.
entrepreneurial world, I knew it wouldn't be real estate investing because I wasn't going to put my wife through that again. But I did
So
want to jump out into sales.
let me ask you a question, Frank. When you're in the middle of that, right? I mean, so hindsight 2020, and it's amazing to be where you are and have those stories to share, because it only makes the fruit sweeter when you
Yes,
have success. Because when you've eaten the rotten apple, the fresh one tastes so much better. You know,
absolutely.
but that being said, when you're in that trench and you're watching the world melt down around you, like so many people did in 2007 and 8 and 9, or even in COVID,
Yes,
if you were running a daycare in COVID and they shut you down, if you were running, whatever, so many businesses, restaurants, oh my God, uh, you know,
yes.
so what was it that bridged that gap for you? Was it your faith? Was it your business acumen? Was it your relationships? Or was it just an amalgamation of all that put together? What do you point at and say, if I didn't have that in my toolbox when
Yeah.
all this went down, I wouldn't be where I am?
Well, certainly the support of my wife and children was just, I could not have done it without that. And my faith has always caused me to believe that my life counts for something. It means something. And I've always had this desire not to make a small impact upon this world, but a big impact. To make a big impact, you need a big stage, you need a big microphone. And so even when I was, kind of hidden away in the 9 to 5 corporate world, I knew my chance was coming. I knew my day was coming. Even though at this time I was in my 40s and even in my early 50s, and you might think, well, time has slipped away. You missed your big chance. I never believed that. Even today, I'm 62 years old. And honestly, I feel like I am on the brink of massive breakthrough in my business. I'm so excited. I think 2023 is going to be the best year of my life, at every level. And you cannot look at the market and justify a statement like that based upon what's happening in the real estate and mortgage market right now. But I sense it and I'm working toward it. In fact, I had a coaching call with my real estate agents yesterday. I do that once a week. And I was sharing with them what I'm doing right now, because right now we're in another one of those troughs. All of
Yeah,
my revenue comes from real estate related businesses.
sure.
And of course, in the Houston market area, our real estate activity dropped by 50%, from September to October, and has stayed down November, December.
Yeah,
Well,
it
as a
wasn't
business
gradual.
person,
It wasn't gradual this time. It wasn't like
no,
you could say, "Hey, let's start pulling back." It was like somebody turned off the water faucet.
it was over the cliff. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And so my agents, my loan officers, and myself, we're all feeling the squeeze of a dramatic and immediate revenue drop. And so I shared with them what I'm doing right now to cope with that pressure, which is to simply keep the main things, to
Sure.
continue to focus on lead generation, building relationships of value, serving people at a high level, not withdrawing, not going into hibernation or in a cocoon and say, well, I'm just going to withdraw until the market's, better and the winds are more favorable. It's times like this, when the spotlight's not on us, when nobody's really paying attention, that we can really dig deep. And very practically, what I mean by that is this is a great time to work on our database, to get it
Well,
updated.
database and I think something that you're talking to and something that I believe in so strongly is, the people that have cash when the market goes down are the ones
Right.
that explode when the market comes back, right? And
Yep.
you can take that and you can put that into many, many different, ideas, and that is the ones that come strong when they come in and they see the adversity of a market change, whether it's a market in any industry, oil and gas, or if it's in, like there's massive technology layoffs going on right now. I mean, I think they said in technology sector in the last 6 months have been 176,000 layoffs across the
Yes.
nation. But the individuals and or companies that come through that in a growth pattern, because you and I have had conversations and you're in growth mode right now.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
mean, your mortgage company, your team, your real estate team, everything, and you're already, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, tell me if I'm wrong, but you're already preparing for the next wave. You're
Oh,
not going to
yes.
not going to retract. You're like, hey, we need to double up our army because when the market comes back around, when the market corrects itself, we're going to absolutely just explode.
Yes. Well, that's always been a survival strategy that I have coached to agents and loan officers is that essentially if you're just getting by in your business in a good market, making 60, $70,000 a year, being happy with that, if the market drops by half, you're in deep trouble. You
Yeah.
can't pay your bills. But if you're making 250, 300,000 and the market drops by half, you're going to survive. You're going to get through it. You might not have
You're
to.
only making 150 now.
Yeah, you may not have the lavish vacation this year like you normally have, but your bills are paid and your family's going to continue to live their lifestyle. So
Yep.
I've always believed that you should, first of all, produce well beyond what your consumption level is, and give generously, save generously, invest generously, but create that cushion because in our business, everything is cyclical. We know what's down is going to go up and what's up is going to go down. So you just have to prepare for that. So that's exactly what I have been doing. As I shared with you previously, we started this year, 2022. I had 5 loan officers on my mortgage team. Right now, I have 25, and I'm
Nice.
scheduled to add several more in the next couple of weeks. We're going to end the year at 28 or 30 loan officers, so that even with the drop in the volume of business, we've built up enough sources of business that we're going to be fine. And as you said, when the market becomes more favorable, when it shifts back, my goodness, that's when this behemoth that we're building of agents and loan officers, when they double their production, you can imagine it's going to be incredible. So
Well,
I,
and on, I apologize. On top of that, not only, but you're also building symbiotic relationships, right? I mean, now just so happens you have your hand in both pots,
yes,
so it's even better. But, you can speak to going out and creating those other relationships, when you're growing them up. But let me ask you something. So when you're growing your mortgage company like that, you're not going out and saying, hey, I've got so many loans coming in that I need another loan officer, right? It's
nope,
I want to get more loans in, so I need another loan officer. So you're hedging your bets and you're bringing people in knowing that you're attracting the right people and they're going to bring you the business. So I think a
yes,
lot of people get stuck in that, well, if I go hire this guy, I got to take on this, this other salary, or I'm not big enough yet to go do that thing. Whereas the people that really succeed, we talk in our office all the time. If you're running $100,000 business, you'll make $100,000. But
yes,
when you're making $100,000, you need to be running $1 million business.
yes, yes.
Because you're setting that plan. So if you can, because I know a lot of our listeners that haven't reached the levels that you have, can you speak into what that means to you as far as it's not a gamble, right? I mean, it's a strategic positioning, I would say,
It is.
for a market that is coming. And how do you justify internally with yourself of front loading that heavy when the market's not there yet?
So it's really not that complicated because the cost to me of adding another real estate agent to my team or another loan officer to my team is minimal. I
Sure.
don't pay them salaries. We're 100% incentive based. I simply provide a support network that allows them to thrive. But that support network is pretty much funded by fixed costs. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna be paying essentially the same thing for 5 loan officers, 20 loan officers, 30 loan officers. So there's very little downside risk to me adding good people to my team. And I'm very focused on the real estate and the mortgage side on adding proven producers. Now,
Sure.
our doors are open to brand new licensees in both professions as long as they've got that drive within and they have some financial resources to launch. We'll take a chance on people who have basic integrity and those essential resources to launch. But we're not proactively looking for them. We're looking for people who have a track record of production. And as you said, they bring that production with them. So, what that means for us to attract those kind of people who don't move easily, you
Sure.
have to have an extremely attractive value proposition. And so that's what I focus on every single day. identifying what do top agents want, what do top loan originators want, what do they need, what are essential environmental factors, what type of encouragement, resources, technology, compensation plan. That's really my job as the leader of these companies, is to create that environment where motivated people can succeed at the highest level. And then I just go out and I tell that story. I basically set the table with really good food, very attractive food. And then I invite people to come taste and see. And a significant portion of them decide to sit down and settle in and become part of what we're doing.
That's awesome. I mean, I think what you're talking about building the foundation, right? And I think that's one of the things that there's a real disconnect in a lot of industries today is that, I talk regularly about the we, not the me, right?
Yes.
Especially like with our new agents, I'm like, when you go on these first listing appointments, although in our first listing appointments, we always send a veteran with them, but I said, when you're going out and trying to get that new buyer, make sure that you speak of the collective, our team, our offices, our admins,
Yes.
because not only is it ingraining that in their brain of, recognizing and utilizing the team and the power of the team, but it also brings a presence. So we're trying to create this foundation that they feel secure. I
Yes.
want a concrete foundation, not a safety net, right? Because safety nets
That's
tear.
good. That's good. That's real
Right.
good.
And I think that's really difficult at times, to attract people, because there's a lot of negativity in the world today, but also, I mean, specifically in the workforce, because
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, obviously we've seen a major change post COVID. There's, I forget how many open jobs, like 11 million open jobs in the US, and a lot of people just
Yes.
didn't go back into the workforce. And
They don't want to work.
there's a lot of, and so the work ethic, I think, has kind of taken a shot in the arm.
Yes.
And that's some culture changes, but I think regardless of that, you're always going to have that 80-20, where, you've got the people out there that are still hungry, they're still ready to
Yes.
thrive, they're always happy, never satisfied, which I think I'm
Yes.
going to have that put on my tombstone, you
Yes.
know, blessed by the best, always happy, never satisfied, I
That's
mean, and
right. They're always reaching forward.
you have
Yeah.
to, I mean, and because in our industry, whether it's recruiting, if it's building your mortgage company, there's no sitting still. I mean, and you know that better than anybody. There is
Right.
no such thing as stagnant, because
That's right.
if you mistake it as stagnant, it means that you don't even realize that you're actually going backwards.
Yes. Yes. If I'm not growing my business, somebody else is growing theirs at my expense. They're taking my market share. They're taking my people. So you have to always maintain this offensive strategy that I'm going for it. I'm going to be the threat. I'm going to be the one that everybody else is worried about and having to adapt to. And as long as you can maintain that mentality, you're going to be in growth mode. But when you lose that, when you start to coast, then others start feeding on you and the demise comes pretty quickly.
So if I could put you on the spot, and don't, if get too wrapped around the axle with it, but would you say are the top three things if you got a brand new agent that just came into your office today,
Yes.
and maybe they know somebody, or they've got a great interview, and you're like, you know what, this person has zero history, zero production, but I can see it. I can see the sparkle in their eye. They've got what it takes. And they said, hey, what are the three things I need to do right now to make sure that I'm successful? What do you think those would be?
So, first of all, I think they have to have a plan. They need to
Okay.
develop a business plan, and that plan needs to be centered around their aspirations. What are their life aspirations? What are they trying to accomplish? What things do they want to fund? What impact do they want to make? What legacy do they want to leave? And then you identify from that what's going to be the financial cost of those things to live that life and have that impact. What's that going to cost me on an annual basis? And let's just say that that's $200,000 first year. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so now I'm going to demand of my career $200,000. And I say demand because the whole purpose of our career is to fund the life that we aspire to live. We don't live to work, we work to live. So once you
Yes.
identify the life you want to live, what it's going to cost to live that life, then you can calculate the metrics of your business. So if it's $200,000, what's my anticipated annual average sale price? Well, probably $400,000. Well, what's my average commission rate? Let's say it's 3%. Well, then what's my average commission? That's going to be $12,000. So now I take 400,000 or 200,000 divided by 12,000. That's going to give me the number of transactions I have to close to make that amount of money show up. I call that your transaction benchmark. And let's just say it's 18. So now, as a brand new agent, I have my marching orders. I have to close 18 sale transactions this year at an average sale price of 400,000 and an average commission rate of 3%. So that's what I've got to do. So once I have that goal clearly identified, then I have to identify where are those 18 transactions coming from?
Mm-hmm.
What are the sources of the business? And so I'll walk them through a process. Well, most of them are probably going to come from your sphere of influence. So we'll break it down. Let's say 6 come from your sphere of influence, 4 are going to come from open houses, 2 are going to come from working expires. And we keep working that down until we account for all 18 transactions. So now we know what we have to accomplish. We know where the business is coming from. And then we have to work on a strategy for each of those sources of business. Well, if I'm going to get 6 sales from my sphere of influence, how's that going to happen? Well, first of all, I better get all their contact information. Second, I probably want to throw a launch party and let them all know I'm in the business. Second, I need to stay in touch with them on a consistent basis. So I'm going to do a weekly e-newsletter. I'm going to do a monthly postcard. I'm going to send a magazine to my top 50. I'm going to host 2 client appreciation events a year. These are all just strategy points. And you put together that strategy for every source of business. Now you have a complete business plan. That is all step 1. Once we have the plan, we work that plan. And it doesn't happen by accident. Implementing all those strategies takes time. So I encourage them to time block their calendar. They're going to have so many hours every day for lead generation activity. They're going to time block for lead conversion. Lead conversion means they're face-to-face with a buyer or seller, attracting them into a relationship with themselves. And so you time block for that. And in your lead generation blocks, you're making calls, you're reaching out, trying to set appointments to fill those lead conversion blocks. So once you've got your plan, you're working your plan, you're doing all the implementation. The third piece of it, and I save it for third, because agents who try to put it first get distracted by it. And third is you learn the mechanics of the business and you learn the market. So many agents get bogged down trying to go to classes, trying to learn everything before they ever talk to a buyer or seller. And I tell them, your classroom is in the home when you're showing property. Your classroom is the kitchen table when you're doing a listing conversation. Yes, you want to prep for those in advance, but you can be thoroughly entertained by the learning process and never make a dime in this business. So after some initial learning, I want you in the game. I want you out there, even if you feel unprepared, you feel like you don't understand the market well enough. It's in the experience of interaction with buyers and sellers that you're really going to learn. So that's why I move the major learning piece almost to third place. And I want them, of course, getting their training on how to open a lockbox and, how to conduct a listing conversation, but get out of the classroom and get in the game. That's the third piece.
So I wrote down 3 notes here based on everything that you just gave. And by the way, that's a phenomenal breakdown. I mean, if we just took that as a segment and sent that to all the new agents, I think that it would probably add $30,000 to their income in the first year. I mean, just that 2 minutes. So thank you very much for that. But I broke everything that you just said kind of hit me in three very short phrases. Intentionality.
Yes.
Reverse engineering.
Yes, that's right.
And then the last piece about the learning is ready, fire, aim.
That's it. You nailed it. That's exactly right. And when I say, intentionality, I love that word. And in my language, that means you have a plan.
Hmm.
And a plan is not something in your head. It's something written down on paper that you can look to and evaluate. And I always ask my real estate agents and loan officers, if you were arrested and charged with the crime of being intentional, what is the evidence that would convict you?
Oh, that's
And the
great. I love
answer
that.
is a written plan. You have a written business plan. That's the evidence that proves you're being intentional.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. You're gonna see that as a post on my Facebook probably before the end of the day. I'm stealing that.
Love it.
I love that. So if you were arrested and charged with the crime of intentionality,
Of being intentional. That's
of
right.
being intentional, what is the evidence that would convict you? Oh, I love
That's
that so
right.
much.
A written business plan. Yeah.
Well, awesome.
So,
Well, man, I tell you what, I always love hanging out and talking with you. I want to make sure that our listeners have the ability to speak with you as well. What is the best way for them to be able to reach you?
by email or by phone, and I'm very accessible. I only have one phone number. It's my cell. I like to talk to people. 713-702-6978, or reach out to me by email, frank@frankgray.net. Gray is Gray. And I love to connect. One of my core beliefs is I open the door to new relationships every day. So if
Well,
somebody
and the
just
other
wants to
thing I
work,
want to make sure our listeners know is that, in your business and our business, um, they don't need to be in Houston. They don't need to be in
no,
Texas.
no,
I mean, the things that you're teaching, the things that you're building cross state boundaries, city boundaries,
yes,
international boundaries.
they apply
It's
everywhere
always
humans live. Yes,
absolutely. Well, Frank,
yes.
again, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time. We know how busy you are. And I think that going back and listening at this, there's at least a good 25 takeaway points. And that's all we could possibly ask you for.
Well, I appreciate your investment of this time, Jason. It was so much fun, and I'm honored to be asked.
Awesome. Well, hey, everybody, don't forget, come back every week, come back often, listen to it 2, 3, 4 times. Make sure you're taking in this information. This is information that we've got decades and decades of experience. Don't go out and reinvent the wheel, but we also do want you to burn the boats. You all know what that means. You got to land on the shore, leave yourself no escape clause. You've got to succeed. You've got to push forward. And in Frank's own words, or my words of his words, you got to live with intentionality. You've got to make sure that you look at the final result and work backwards from there so you can actually figure out what your plan, what your map is. And then last but
Yes,
not least, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Get out there. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Get out there,
perfect.
get uncomfortable, get to know people. They're going to help you grow your business. And the last thing I'll put in here is what he said from Zig Ziglar. You can get everything you want in life by helping enough other people achieve what they want. So see you guys next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, share it on your social media, tell your friends and family, tell complete strangers about Expedition U, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.